Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My name is Jean Milligan. I'm with the International Organization of Employers, and I'm the Director of Partnerships and Communications. And I'm here with a very good friend and colleague, Bettina. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Jean. What a pleasure to be with you. I'm Bettina with the ADECO group today in my capacity and an absolutely proud member of the IOE with the ADECO group and also big supporter of this One Global Women Empowerment Initiative.
Thank you, Bettina. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. I just wanted to tell everyone that you have questions, concerns, issues, ideas. Please put them in the chat box. We will around 2:15 take questions, so don't be shy. We really want to hear from you, and we want you to be part of the conversation, not just listening in. So I'm going to kick it off by thinking about something that I was reflecting on recently, like last night, and it's about I was imagining a world where half of really the most brilliant minds are sitting on the sidelines of what we are living now in one of the most critical economic, technological, and environmental transformations. Women currently comprise only 1/3 of the green economy workforce. And this is a statistic that represents not just a gender gap, but a massive missed opportunity. So we're here today with a solution-oriented mindset to share strategies, forge partnerships, and engage in action-facing dialogue to overcome the barriers that limit women's economic participation in the green economy. So Bettina, I'm passing to you to introduce our next speakers.
Thank you so much, Jean. And again, also on my behalf, a warm welcome and thank you to the IOE for facilitating this important conversation in these current times. Now, I have the pleasure of kicking us off today by bringing in three absolutely wonderful specialists and experts. The first one being the very own president of the International Organization of Employers, Mrs. Jacqueline Mougot. Jacqueline is also the representative of the employers and therefore the titular board member of the governing body of the ILO. And she is, of course, as well the president and executive director and CEO of the Federation of Kenyan Employers. Now, Jacqueline, you're joining us from Turin in Italy. Let's see how the connection holds up. Over to you, Jacqueline.
Thank you very much, Bettina, for your kind introduction and for giving me the floor to engage with all of you in this very important meeting. I apologize in advance if I go off because the network is quite erratic here in Turin, where they are celebrating 60 years of their service to all of us as constituents. As IOE president, we represent more than 50 million companies across more than 140 countries. Both large enterprises and MSMEs are our members, whether in developed or developing economies. You all know that we are living in an era of significant transition, with issues like climate change and a just transition taking center stage and urging us all to adapt our work methods, operations, and the development and implementation of policies and interventions. Otherwise, our stability and the very socio-economic fabric of our communities may falter. As we work towards a sustainable future, let us remember that women should not just be participants and observers, but also need to be included in the decision-making at the policy level. We can all agree that female leaders bring innovative solutions, resilience, and a unique perspective that is critical to addressing global environmental challenges. It is imperative that we break down the barriers that have historically limited women's participation in green technologies, renewable energy, and sustainable industries. As I have said, our potential goes beyond mere inclusion. We can be architects of change, capable of driving meaningful economic transformation that benefits entire communities. And in Africa, I know this is true. and indeed all over the world. I am certain that by investing in women's education, entrepreneurship, and leadership, we unlock powerful force for innovation, economic growth, and environmental stewardship that can reshape our world towards a more equitable and sustainable future. Emerging evidence suggests that women in senior positions are more ambitious and effective in corporate climate action. So, a seat at the table, a voice in the discussion, and decision-making power are essential for achieving transformation and ensuring equal participation on the path to sustainable growth. But despite significant progress, women hold less than 1/3 of management and leadership positions worldwide. This stark reality highlights both a challenge and a tremendous opportunity to bridge this gap and unlock the socioeconomic change that inclusive leadership promises. In 2023, statistics show that women held 30% of managerial positions, 17% of senior management roles in the renewable energy sector. The share of women in senior leadership varies by sector, with 25.6 in wind, 25.2 in solar, and 19.3 in hydropower, very low statistics. So these statistics illustrate and underscore a harsh reality, a significant gap in leadership and decision-making power, which persists, limiting not only gender equity, but also the socioeconomic potential that comes with diversity and a particular vision in leadership based on women's experiences. Research and practice have shown that women's full participation in leadership roles and the economy drives innovation, enhances productivity, and unlocks business opportunities in both the private and the public sectors. So how can we increase women's representation in leadership? To begin with, organizations and institutions must recognize the significance of this issue and actively implement policies and programs that mentor and cultivate a leadership.
And this is, unfortunately, it seems, where the connection lets us down. We'll give it a few seconds and then I will try to bridge it, but of course, a very strong message from the IOE's president, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for that. Well, dear friends, I suggest that unfortunately, we're going to move on to our next two interventions. And it is my absolute pleasure to share with you that we have with us today interventions from Mrs. Shinta Kamdani, who is the chairwoman of Apindo, Indonesia, and was the chairwoman of the Indonesian B20. And we also have with us Mrs. Ana Fontes, the chair of the Women 20 Brazil 2024, and the G20 founder of the Women Entrepreneur Instituto and Network. So let's start first with Shinta, and unfortunately, actually, Shinta can't be with us today. She had an unforeseen commitment, but she has recorded a very powerful message for us, which we will hear just now, where she highlights the key opportunities that the green economy presents for women and how that participation can be strengthened. Just to remind us again, Shinta is the CEO of the Sintesa Group. She's the chair of the Employers Association in Indonesia, and therefore exactly the voice that we were looking for over the next minutes, as she will advocate for economic policies that promote sustainable growth and support businesses, including women-led enterprises. Without further ado, may I ask our colleagues to showcase the video.
The green economy presents transformative opportunity for women, particularly in Southeast Asia, where renewable energy and sustainability initiatives are gaining momentum. Indonesia in particular has committed to net zero emission by 2060, and renewables will play a critical role in decarbonizing industries while driving economic growth at the same time. This certainly creates a bigger opportunity for women to participate in the renewable energy workforce. The World Bank even estimated that clean energy access could create 1.5 million new jobs for women in Southeast Asia by 2030. Furthermore, the International Renewable Energy Agency reports that women are better represented in the renewable energy sector by 32% than in the broader energy sector, which is only 22%. Although this progress is uneven across regions. For example, areas such as solar panel installation and electric mobility can create jobs that are less physically intensive and more reliant on digital and technical skills, allowing more women to thrive if provided with equal access to training and tools. Women in the solar photovoltaic sector represent 40% of the workforce, the highest among renewable energy subfields, yet still below the global workforce average. I believe that the just transition to a green economy must be inclusive by design, with the right policy and support system. It can help shift the traditional gender divide. Gender-responsive policies are crucial for ensuring women have equal access to opportunities and leadership roles. Government and businesses should implement policy promoting gender diversity, such as flexible working arrangement, equal pay, and anti-discrimination initiatives. Of course, this once again highlights the essential need for investment in education and skill development for women. Programs that encourage female students to pursue STEM and renewable energy fields, along with scholarship, training, and mentorship opportunities, will help equip them with the technical expertise to succeed. Moreover, partnership between industry and academia can ensure that educational pathways are aligned with market demands, creating a pipeline of skilled female talent ready to meet the workforce needs of a greener future. Furthermore, overcoming traditional gender roles will require creating supporting work environments and leadership opportunity for women in the energy sectors, where women are not only welcome but empowered to take on decision-making roles. Leadership development program, sponsorship opportunities, and visibility in public forums are essential for increasing women representation in senior roles within the green sectors. By actively involving women in climate planning and green growth strategies, we not only empower half the population, but also enhance the resilience and innovation potential of the sector.
Wonderful, wonderful statement by Shinta, and actually we will hear Shinta in a little while again. What strong statements around the role of women in climate planning, in green growth strategies, in renewable energy, solar, photovoltaic. I mean, it is absolutely clear the green economy can and should not do without women. Anna, it is now my absolute pleasure to turn to you again. You are joining us, I would think, from Brazil, where you are the driving force behind the Women Entrepreneur Institute and Network. You are, of course, the chair of the W of the Women 20 in Brazil. And if there's somebody who knows firsthand what barriers women face as entrepreneurs within the green economy, it is you. Your organization has directly impacted the lives of over 9 million. 9 million. It has a population of Switzerland, so 9 million of women entrepreneurs, and you've connected 900,000 of them. Anna, given your experience and leadership, please tell us a little bit more, and you have a whopping 3 minutes to tell us all about what that work of your organization is, and of course, which are those activities related very specifically to advancing women's businesses in the green economy. Over to you, Anna.
Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon for all. Thank you, Bettina, for having me. I'm so proud to be a part of these discussions. At the Rede Mulher Empreendedora, or Instituto for Support to Women Entrepreneurs in Brazil, we are very committed to empower women economically, socially, and politically. Especially through entrepreneurship, it's our focus. Since in 2010, we have supported, as you say, over 9 million women across our country. We are in most 2,000 cities in Brazil, offering training, mentorship, financial inclusion, and access to network. Even the 9 million women, we gave to them two small grants, a kind of small grants to help these women moving on. Today, we have more than 900,000 women every day connected and discusses our business direct through our platforms and programs. In recent years, we have intensified our focus on a green economy. For sure, Brazil is a very important player in that way. We believe that women must be central players in building a more sustainable and inclusive future. Through partnerships and dedicated programs, we promote green entrepreneurship by supporting women-led business in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, circular economy, and eco-innovation. One of our flagship initiatives is helping women entrepreneurs understand how to align their business with ESG or ISG principles. We provide for them practical tools and training to help them assess their green funding and integrate sustainability into business models. We also advocate for more inclusive green and policies and at the national and regional levels, because systemic change is necessary for real inclusive and the green economy. And that in this year, we have a huge event, as you all know, the COP30 in Brazil, and we are prepared a program to support women entrepreneurs in the Amazon region to help them sell the products, organize in networking, and help each other with support in our government. And I invite you all to become here to Brazil to participate in the COP30. It's a very huge opportunity to discuss sustainable focus on green business. Thank you, Bettina, for the question.
Thank you so much, Anna, and how inspiring, and that journey that you're on, really touching on all various aspects. Now, we'd like to pick up again that institutional systemic role that you play, besides being very proactive at a tactical level in the field. You, of course, in that space of your role of the leader of the Women 20 across multiple presidencies, you've co-drafted Women 20 G20 recommendations related to women and climate, female empowerment, environment, renewable energy, etc. Could you give us one or two more pointers on those recommendations?
For sure, Bettina, it's a very, very huge challenge, because we have to create a communique, a document with 5 recommendations, in over 100 women participate with different backgrounds. And we have
what
to
do you focus
build
on?
Yes, and we have to build the document in consensus. It's very huge work in consensus, but it's possible. Just for 3 minutes, we place women at the Center of Sustainability and Climate Action. It's not just a matter of justice, it's a matter of sorry, this word is very difficult from Brazilian, effectiveness. At Women 20 in 2004, we have made a priority to bring gender equality into every discussion on the green transition. One of our key recommendations is to mainstream gender in climate finance, ensure that women-led business have real access to green investment and in climate adaptation resource. We also advocate for creation of national strategies that integrate women into green jobs and emerging industries such as a clean energy and sustainable infrastructure in whole world. Another strong pillar is our data and accountability. We need gender disaggregated data and all sustainability metrics to guide public policies and measure impact effectively. Across the G20, the W20 has consistently emphasized that climate policy must be intersectional, taking into account the different realities faced by women, particularly those from marginalized communities or women underserved and communities of Black women in Brazil, indigenous. In Brazil, we have prioritized voices from indigenous, Black people, and low-income women or underserved to make sure our recommendations reflect the true diversity of experience. That's very important. Ultimately, we believe that an inclusive and green transition, it's only possible if women are empowered, not only as a beneficiaries, but as a leaders, as a innovators, as a change makers. And once again, thank you, Bettina, and all for the opportunity to have that space to speak about our work in W20 and Rede Mulher Empreendedora.
Well, Anna, it is absolutely up to us to thank you for that amazing leadership, for that time, expertise, know-how dedicate for the benefit of us all, that work that you do at all the levels. Thank you so much again for that. And I can't wait to see how we can in 2025 further build and improve the work that you've been doing. Thank you for being with us. Now, colleagues, I alluded to it earlier. We had Shinta join us with a video message, and those of you, and I know all of you listened very carefully, Shinta had a few statements on leadership that is needed in these times. And so we actually wanted to add a question that we posed to Shinta about key lessons that she has learned on how that B20 experience that she had has shaped her perspective on women's leadership in the global business arena. So let's hear Shinta one more time, as we will with that then wrap this part of today's session. Over to Shinta's statement on leadership.
During our B20 chairmanship, I saw firsthand how priorities have changed across countries and how we pay more and more attention towards gender equality. However, all women in businesses, be it those who are in MSMEs or those who work in the private sector, continue to face persistent challenges, including limited financing options, fewer opportunities to build strong business networks, and unequal pathways to economic advancement. In fact, according to the World Bank, women-owned businesses still face a $1.7 trillion financing gap globally, a gap that directly hinders their ability to grow, innovate, and contribute to the green and digital transition we aspire to achieve. One key lesson I've learned during the B20 is that the private sector cannot do it alone, and it should not. Driving women's empowerment and leadership must be a collective effort with strong support not only from businesses but also from government, international organizations, civil society, and other key stakeholders. Each actor has a role to play in shaping the enabling environment for women to thrive. I've also learned that shaping policy can help shift the broader narrative and drive cultural change toward inclusion and the promotion of women. When we put gender at the heart of policy design, whether it is in trade, labor, sustainability, or innovation, we begin to challenge the status quo and shift how women are perceived and supported in the business world. But policy alone is not enough. Building an inclusive culture in the workplace is equally important, and this starts with people. Every individual has the power to shape work, culture, and we must serve as ambassadors for inclusion, leading the way in fostering environments that are not only diverse, but action-oriented and genuinely supportive. But perhaps most importantly, the B20 reminded me that if we want real change, we must move beyond discussion and focus on concrete actions. We can start small, just one or two initiatives we can fully commit to and deliver with excellence. That is why I believe OGWE, One Global Women Empowerment, has an important role to serve as a platform for action, not just a dialogue. It can bring stakeholders together across sectors and geography to drive measurable progress, share best practices, and build a more inclusive global business ecosystem. It's time to act more and talk less. And as women leaders, let's lead by example, not only by raising our voices, but by opening doors for others to raise with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Bettina. Thank you, Shinta, for those really inspiring words. And thank you, Bettina, for your impressive time management and leadership in the moderation. So it's really my great pleasure and honor to speak with Jemima Njuki, who has a vast experience in terms of empowering women. She's the Chief of Economic Empowerment at UN Women. Dr. Njuki, welcome to our seminar. So I wanted to say, as a leader of UN Women's global efforts to advance women's economic rights and inclusion, your focus is on shaping policies and systems that work for women. You're also a strong advocate for the idea that sustainable growth and development are impossible without investing in women and placing them at the heart of economic progress. So from your perspective, what are the key challenges and opportunities in creating a more enabling environment for women in the green economy?
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. It is really a pleasure for me to be here today to speak about an issue that really lies at the heart of UN Women's mandate, as you rightly say, gender equality and women's economic empowerment in the context of just transitions for a sustainable future. I think let me just start by saying we are in a world today, and I think we are all aware that is being reshaped by multiple and converging crises. Right now, we are dealing with heavy pushback against gender equality. We are seeing rising inequality, rapid technological change, the climate crisis, conflict, and these challenges really demand not only innovation, but also transformation. And I really liked what the last speaker said, that we really have to start doing more. But it also requires that we really take a fresh approach to how we empower women economically in a world that is changing really fast and changing in very unequal unequal ways. So at UN Women, we see economic empowerment as catalytic. We treat it as a goal in itself, but we also see it as a huge driver of gender equality and sustainable development. We know that when women have access to economic resources, they participate more in other aspects of life, in political life. They can protect themselves from gender-based violence. They become key actors in disaster risk reduction, in climate resilience, in community development. And so we really place economic empowerment at the heart of our work. So we, in terms of the just transition and the green economy, we are looking at two main things. One, of course, has been talked about, and so including in the opening remarks around women's participation in the job market within the green economy. But I want to talk about an issue that we have been pursuing for the last couple of years, and because we understand and are very clear that we need systemic change in the way we address women's economic empowerment. I think for a long time, we have focused on women, and rightly so, building their skills, making sure they are accessing the right opportunities, but the system still remains unequal. And so the speech from Brazil showed very clearly that even the financial system has to change in the way it addresses women's economic empowerment. And so one of the clearest examples of this systemic exclusion is in the growing gender gap in access to green and climate finance. So in 2021 alone, global green finance surpassed $720 billion US. And a lot of women entrepreneurs, women-led businesses, grassroots organizations, feminist organizations were largely left out from that. A 2023 report by the UN Secretary General Special Advocate on Financial Inclusion highlighted that green finance mechanisms are still largely dominated by traditional donors and traditional players, banks, institutional investors, and very few of those channels are reaching women at the grassroots, and especially those that are operating micro and small enterprises. We've seen the same trend with ODA, public climate finance. Only 3% of ODA assistance on climate targets women, and only 2% is directed to women's organizations. And a lot of these women's organizations in the global north and not in the global south. So we're seeing a really challenging systemic exclusion of women. It is a missed opportunity, but it is also a profound injustice. So we also need to start seeing these issues as justice issues or justice denied, because we know every day from our own experiences, from what we see around the world, women are already leading climate and environmental action at all levels. They're preserving ecosystems, they're building resilience, they are adapting farming practices, they're safeguarding biodiversity, and most of this work remains unpaid and underpaid. But yet it is the work that underpins life. So what we really want to see, and I want to just give some other statistics that remain very, very worrying for us. So IRO estimates that a shift to low carbon and circular economies is going to create some 100 million jobs by 2030. A lot of these jobs are mostly in male-dominated sectors. And so what do we do? How do we make sure that women have access to these opportunities? But there's also some 80 million jobs that could be lost. And a lot of these jobs that could be lost are also in sectors that are mainly dominated by women. And so we must prioritize reducing the impact on women and ensure their equal participation and benefits from just transitions.
Thank you. If I have a follow-up question for you, if that's okay. we wanted to ask you, how can we best work together? Because I think you're right, you rightly point out it's a systemic transformation that needs to happen. And I wanted to know if you have ideas at how best the private sector, employer organizations can work with UN Women to move forward, to have tangible results, and I think really address what you're referring to as these systemic issues.
Thank you so much for that question, because that's actually, it's really, Anna talked about doing less talk and more and more action. So let me just say there's several spheres of activity here where we can actually work together: employers, organizations, financial institutions who are also employers, but that are also providing the much needed resources to address climate and the just transitions. So the first level we are working on, as you mentioned, given our global role, is just that policy space and ensuring that the policies, whether it is during COP in Brazil later this year, we were in Baku as UN Women, and we really have to come together as people who believe in gender equality to really push for those policies that actually allow for women to be centered in the just transition. In the UAE at COP28, we formed and we supported the UAE government on the Just Transition Partnership, the Gender Responsive Just Transition Partnership. And we are really looking forward to advancing this partnership in Belém this year. And we really hope that it's not just governments that join this partnership, but it's everybody, including the employers organizations. We are hoping to advance this during the G20 in South Africa. So that's the first sphere where we really want organizations, grassroots organizations, indigenous women, employers organizations, the private sector to really come together with one voice. Because when we change that system at the global level, it becomes easier for that to then flow to countries and localities and territories. The second thing is just around the local action that we can all do. And I just want to give a couple of examples of the work we do at country level and where we really seek partnerships to do this. So in Senegal, for example, we are working with the government to develop Africa's first gender-sensitive green finance taxonomy, because every country has its financing taxonomy. And unfortunately, a lot of the finance taxonomy does not include gender consideration. So this is really a critical tool to enable the issuance of gender-sensitive green bonds. We are partnering with commercial banks. We are rolling out a new gender-responsive green finance vehicle that is going to reach women. With employers and the private sector as well, in Liberia, we have a digital inclusion for women's economic empowerment project that is connecting women farming cooperatives to solar-powered equipment. These are women that are not only increasing their productivity, but also being trained as mobile money agents and providers of mobile-enabled renewable energy products that can then reach more people. And finally, I just want to talk about another interesting.
Yeah, Dr. Njuki, if you could wrap up in the next minute, that would be perfect. Thanks.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Let me I won't even mention about a project. I'll mention what else we can do together. And this is around green jobs for women. And this is where we need to partner very closely with the private sector, with employers organizations, to really make sure that we are ending discrimination in the world of work for women. A lot of women are also not going to these sectors because these sectors are male-dominated. They are a predominantly very toxic culture. So even sometimes when women want to go into these sectors, they are not always welcome. They're not always feeling supported in this sector. So as employers, it is really important that even as we do all the work we are doing on the ground with education institutions, encouraging girls to go into into STEM education so that they can go into these sectors. As employers, we really have to make sure that we are also changing the culture in our organizations to end discrimination, to be supportive of women, and to have the right policies that actually support women in the workplace, including policies such as addressing care.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is the start of a conversation with you. This is not the end, and we're looking forward to partnering at the different G20 events and also the COP. So it's really, this is the beginning of a partnership, and very proud to have this engagement with you. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Now we're going to move into a sort of panel discussion, because we're going to bring the private sector to the conversation and hear what they're doing in terms of different companies, what's happening on the ground in terms of initiatives from the private sector for inclusion. So I'm going to be bringing in, I have two guests. I have Mrs. Karen Svensson from Volvo Group's Chief Sustainability Officer, and Ms. Tina Mylon, Senior Vice President of Talent, Inclusion, and Culture at Schneider Electric. Thank you both for coming and joining us today and taking part in the conversation. Ms. Svensson, our keynote speakers underscored the urgent need to integrate women into the green economy. A key hurdle that we heard and was repeated remains attracting and retaining women in STEM fields, particularly in roles in this just transition. So could you explain, just briefly describe to us what actions the Volvo Group are taking to close this gap and create more opportunities for women in these future sustainable careers?
Sure, thank you so much for inviting me here today. Let me say that the transport industry has traditionally been characterized by a very low representation of women, not the least than in engineering and in technical professions. We have therefore we have set a target of increasing women in our company. So we have a target of 35% women in all positions, including management positions, by 2030. We are working in different ways to achieve this, but I wanted to mention three activities today. The first one being an initiative that we took 4 years ago that is called TechHer. It's a way to increase awareness to get women interested in pursuing a career in STEM. So it's mainly a virtual platform where we do sharing insights and practical tips, but there is also physical events where we let women in leading positions in the industry talk to women, young women that want to move into the industry. This also includes a mentorship program where we also can have leaders from the industry meeting with students and young people. The second activity I wanted to mention today is our vocational schools. So there is a shortage of both truck drivers and mechanics today in the world in many different regions. And women are, of course, severely underrepresented in these areas. So when we do vocational schools, we focus very much on getting women into this line of business. We do that in so-called public-private development partnerships. We have, until today, we've done this for more than 10 years. We have schools in more than 6 countries. The last country being included is Ukraine, where we exclusively focus on women. We have a special initiative called Iron Women, where we not only are educating women to become truck drivers, but where we also train them in entrepreneurship so they can make their own business in this industry. We have done this, for example, in South Africa. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is how we can attract more women and make them want to work for us then specifically, where we are looking very thoroughly into the recruitment requirements for different positions, where we try to form them in a way and be more open with the requirements for certain positions. But also that we are trying to create awareness among our managers recruiting. So we are actually training them in inclusive requirements.
Thank you. Thank you. That was really, yes, I have a long history of understanding bringing women into the realm of transport, and particularly truck drivers. That's been a long-standing challenge. So congratulations on working to address that. Ms. Mailan, I'm going to turn to you now. And I learned recently about your economic and social development of women renewable energies in the Sahel. So this is an interesting and fascinating counterpoint to corporate strategies in developed markets. And we wanted to know, how does Schneider Electric's approach demonstrate that women's economic empowerment can be a powerful driver of sustainable development and the green economy, particularly in regions with significant economic constraints? Ms. Marlin, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, and really an honor to represent Schneider and be part of this very esteemed and very impressive people with practitioner advice and also expert opinion. So quite humbling to be with all of you. I think one, and I'll build a little bit on your direct question. So that program, which we've been working on for years and quite proud of, about the Sahel region, so Mali, Senegal, and Niger, this has been something that was just recently recognized by the World Economic Forum as one of the DEI Lighthouse initiatives. And before I cover some of the details, it goes back to your question. I think for us at Schneider Electric, as with always that partnership that many of your speakers talk to, this piece about addressing equity, especially for women and men across the ecosystem, so both for the industry and the corporate priorities, but also the ecosystem at large, that has always been part of our fundamental principles. So the program you refer to is really one of our use case lighthouse examples where we believe strongly what we do, both in the local markets, in this case, part of Africa, as well as at the global so-called corporate level. The synergy is absolutely essential. The return on investment, if you will, is circular. So we must address everything across the ecosystem. The program that you highlight is something, like I mentioned, is really based on the principle, as many of your speakers have talked about as well, on skills, education being one of the most important vectors for achieving equity, in this case, across genders. So what we have done in partnership with Plan International, with our Schneider Electric Foundation, and also many of our employees on the ground, is really invest in a holistic approach to building technical expertise. And this includes training in business management, financial literacy training for women, as well as what we call technical excellence centers to set up in these rural areas to deliver specifically on energy technical skills. And so far, it's small scale, step by step, but around 10,000 women in that region have been trained, not only in those business management, leadership, financial literacy skills, but also on the area of solar energy. And access to energy and education combined, we believe, are super important. In the program, Schneider's also partnered with the local participants to install 6 microgrids to support that access to energy and rural electrification. And then, of course, along that broader ecosystem approach, we are inching up towards around 10,000 small and medium solar energy enterprises being established through microcredit loans. So this whole combination of starting with education and skill development, as well as partnership investments in electrification, we believe is a good formula.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's the 360 formula, skilling, access, it's really, I can see that must be incredibly successful. So congratulations on that. And Ms. Simpson, I'd like to build on a point that Ms. Mailan raised about the skilling and systemic transformation that needs to happen. And can you tell me about how is Volvo Group approaching the challenge of not just attracting women, but of course to technical roles, but ensuring their long-term professional advancement and retention? Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Once again, I think I would like to mention 3 different things. First of all, it's training for women, which is, of course, essential throughout their career. At one hand, it's a little bit interesting because in many ways, women are actually better educated than men, but still we do training for women specifically for leadership training on how to navigate the system. I think that's one very important piece in this. Of course, also we do internal recruitment, which is very important for the flow within the company. And there we are trying to use the same kind of practices that I talked about from externally. So we look upon what are really the requirements. Can we open up a little bit? How can we make sure that we attract women to all positions, but also that we do recruitment in an inclusive way. And then, of course, also the very basics, like ensuring that we have good working conditions for women. That goes also for men. We are thinking specifically about parental leave, for example, where we are doing basic stuff like nursing rooms in countries, but also in India, we have a program on how to get women back after parental leave, especially if they've been away for a little bit of a longer period. We have a program to reintegrate them into work again. And also we do lots of different networks internally to support women so that women can support each other, both in specific countries, specific professions, but also global networks that we are supporting as a company.
Yeah, it's great that the mentoring and sort of the internal networks are really very powerful. I can imagine that that's been a very meaningful experience for the participants. Ms. Mylon, I'm going to go back to you, and I'm drawing on the success of your initiative in the Sahel and your youth education program. So what lessons can other organizations learn about creating meaningful pathways to empower women in the green economy based upon your experience?
Maybe if I start quite basic, it will seem quite obvious, but this was really important for all of us. I do believe as a company, it's also to get sponsorship and alignment from the top as well as from the bottoms up. And what I mean by that, and again, it sounds so straightforward, but I think it spills into then the sport, both economically, financially as well. We spent quite a bit of time in our inclusion and care strategy. So that is what I'm responsible for at Schneider Electric. It's our DEI overall, in partnership with our human rights teams, corporate citizenship teams. We spent a lot of time in discussions with our management and our board on our principles. So I go back to really hammering home and sticking to the principles of whatever we do internally within Schneider Electric to support women empowerment, we apply to the broader ecosystem. We also agreed on the principle of universal design. So even beyond gender, what we try to do is raise more equality for all peoples, not only the distinction of men and women, though those are obviously super important. And a case in point is instead of having a maternity leave policy, over the last couple of years, we've been leading in our industry to really look whole scale at family leave. So regardless of your personal family situation, at moments where you need the care, could be bereavement, it could be having a child, it could be other reasons. These universal design principles not only lift women in particular, but they help everyone, both within Schneider and broader. So that would be one pragmatic thing about really aligning your top sponsors around principles. Then you can get into the design, right? The second thing I would simply say is the case that I shared, what we are doing in Africa is a principle of what we also try to do whole scale in countries. At the end of the day, the needs of women, the markets, the dynamics, the cultural, political landscape is very specific to those regions. And we respectfully defer to the countries to take the lead in the detailed design, because at global, you can drive, you can sponsor, you can fund even, but the particularities of the market must be respected. And that's another design principle that has really, really helped us.
That's great, that the global and local working together.
Yes, yes, not easy, but important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's sometimes a lesson learned in difficult circumstances.
For sure. We've learned a lot. We've made mistakes, but yes, we keep piloting, experimenting. I think that's a spirit that we have to uphold.
Thank you. Ms. Svensson, anything else you'd like to add to highlight to our audience about Volvo's significant approach in women, green economy, empowerment that you haven't already touched on?
Maybe just a final thing. I think that the whole transition into more sustainable transportation is actually a great opportunity for us to bring women in. I think it has made it easier for us to bring women into the industry just because of that. More women are now interested into working. It's not only about trucks, so to say, it's about actually making something that is really crucial for society. So lots of women are being attracted to that. So for us, this is a great opportunity to have a more balance in our workforce and so on.
Thank you. Yes, in fact, indeed, there's numerous skills and numerous job opportunities that we need to bring the female part of the population into integrate to. And Ms. Myland, would you like to add also any final thoughts or insights based upon the discussion so far around the green economy and women empowerment?
Yeah, just to build also on Karen's key points from Volvo, I think also in our space, as we are in the energy tech space and really committed to all the sustainability initiatives around the world, especially through electrification. This is indeed a very powerful storyline and narrative, both to increase the visibility, sponsorship, and leadership representation of women in our company. And indeed, most people come and stay at Schneider, often drawn to our purpose and mission around sustainability. And I think, as all your panelists have pointed out, I think when we address some of these underlying issues of skills and education, access to energy, climate, these are often those same types of conditions for human development, of which women play an essential role. So when we lift those topics, we also lift women in all aspects of their livelihood. And that was mentioned multiple times by your esteemed panel. And I would highlight and reiterate the same.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. It's really been rich and engaging, and we sincerely appreciate all of your really practical and inspirational inputs. So thank you both so much. So colleagues, this is the moment for the audience. If there's any questions, issues, please don't be shy. Raise your hand and we will bring you in. So I see Isaac has a question. So I'm going to have my colleagues who are in the back bring in Isaac for his question.
Thank you very much, and good day to everyone. Isaac, yes, from Africa. Yes, it's a very laudable discussion, and I think I'm learning a lot from your esteemed speakers. Actually, I was just going to retreat on most of the things that I've heard. And most especially women in, sorry, my network is not stable, that's why you cannot see me. But women in general, especially women in Africa, historically disadvantaged. These are women trying to go about on their daily businesses to feed their families, and they are still trapped in abject poverty. So I would like to highlight on the importance of ensuring that these women have access to the resources to scale their impact. And I think most of the speakers have also highlighted on that. And then also provision of skills training, which is capacity building programs to equip them with the skills that are needed for them to thrive in the green economy. And lastly, but not the least, we need to also facilitate connections between these women entrepreneurs, investors, and then in the industry leaders to foster collaboration and growth. All these fall under having a strong ecosystem. And I believe that when we have this strong ecosystem, we will do away with these many overlaps that are currently happening in Africa. So we don't have a clear focus, we don't have a clear vision as to how to lead or how to provide resources or how to provide the support that these women needed. So we need a strong ecosystem in order, especially in Africa here. So whoever want to, especially when we come to these networking opportunities and collaborations, we need that strong ecosystem so that we can streamline and be able to provide all the resources and the support these women need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isaac. Yes, networking and partnerships and streamlining to have better access and better impact. I think you're right on target on that point, and thank you for that. Joan, I see a hand raised. Joan, you want to unmute yourself?
Okay, do you hear me?
We do. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm calling, I'm logged in from Kenya in Africa. Thank you for this session. And I think I'm just picking up from maybe a question from what Isaac has said. And for me, it is on the skills training to build the technical, the focus to build the technical expertise. And I thought that is actually quite profound and how is it sustainable? My question is, how are you identifying, is there a report that is actually telling us that this is actually the skills that we now need to help the women build, bearing in mind that they still have their basic skills, and I'm talking about the woman down there in the rural areas, you know, they still have basic duties to undertake, you know, so what are these skills that are not the basic traditional skills that we are actually saying? Because I heard about, you know, being mechanics and everything else, and I'm trying to think where we are in our country and everything else. I'm thinking, that would be interesting. But yeah, so is there somewhere this report is, or it's something that we need to do more research on? Thank you.
With you, we have a report which not particularly, it's not a direct gender focus, but it's also on the green skills, because I think it's also important that you understand what do we mean by green skills, you know, what are the trades, what are the education, the training that's required. So we do have a report that outlines those different skills as well as the different job opportunities, I would say, or professions. So if you want to provide in the chat your email, we can forward that report to you. So I think you can then extract from that report sort of the relevant information for your particular context. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you. It is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with a question? I see no more hands. So no, I'm going to now go to our next segment. I have another question. Ronald. Hello, Ronald. Okay, that is a long question. Okay, I'm going to need to, what are the most effective strategies for breaking gender norms early in a male-dominated green sectors? So basically, Ronald's asking us, what kind of things do we need to do to break the systemic barriers and actually lead this systemic transformation? I don't know if colleagues would like to address that. Perhaps Ana Fuentes from B20, Brazil, would have some ideas, considering that she had this transformation of 9 million women in Brazil. So I don't know if Ana, you're still with us?
Here yet.
So I don't know if you have examples of how to break this systemic transformation, break the norms in male-dominated green sectors, energy, transport, perhaps. If you have sort of ideas.
Yes. We here in Brazil, we are organized groups of women she works in green economy, and we put that women in how can I say, in publicity, in communications, and media, because we show that women, we bring more women to become a possibility to organize some business in that way. That's one thing we are doing here in Brazil. Another things is show for the all women in Brazil the possibilities of they open business in some kinds of green economy. We show that examples, we bring in their hands and move that women to another level. That's another way we organize that. And the third way, we work together with the government in Brazil, especially in the environment government, the Minister of I don't remember the name, in the Minister of the Environment in Brazil, it's Marina Silva. We work together with the equipe of the team of Marina Silva to show what's the problem in the green economy we can solve with the new business. And we show that women what kind of business they are open in the segment of the green economy. That's some do's or some things we are doing here in Brazil to bring more women entrepreneurs to this segment.
Thank you. So I think, Ronald, one of the answers is government collaboration, government dialogue is key to
Yes.
transforming these barriers. I think that's a key pathway. I'm sure there are many others, but we can investigate those in another webinar. So thank you for posing that question, and thank you, Anna, for the response. Really very helpful. So now we're going to have a fireside chat, and we're welcoming to our webinar today Mr. Tanvir Ahmad, Senior Advisor, She Trades, the Hubs of Asia from the International Trade Center. Welcome, sir. We're really pleased to have you with us and talking, I think this is really key about trade, green economy, and how this interplay in terms of women and empowerment. So let me say trade, of course, we know plays a pivotal role in advancing women's economic empowerment. It opens doors to new opportunities and sustainable growth. So, sir, with your extensive experience leading She Trades initiatives across Asia, I'm sure you've witnessed firsthand the intersection of gender, trade, and economic transformation. So could you share with us some your insights into the role of women in the green economy and how you see that shaping the future?
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
Very well.
All right, thank you very much. So, I mean, it's a privilege to be here with all the great souls and with this interesting and exciting discussion. A very relevant topic, a green economy from gender lens, I would say it's very relevant. And this is something, as a few of the previous speakers also mentioned, that this is the start of the conversation and it should continue. And that's the way that we can actually solve it. So again, thanks for having me here. And you were right, like women in trade plays a key role all across, and a green economy is not outside of that. We work in terms of connecting women to the international trade and, connect them more with the economic engagement, so that when the women are economically independent and are growing, then automatically they can take care of the rest of the other challenges that generally comes for a woman-led business. Considering, green economy, we all know that inclusive growth is one of the key elements of green economy. And there is no other way that mainstreaming women-led businesses, we can actually achieve that. So having inclusive growth is the key. And for this inclusive growth, we need to, empower women, to mainstream them and, help them to overcome the barriers that they have. We all know that, I mean, there are lots of challenges that the SMEs are facing, but when it's about women-led SMEs, it's even more. So women in trade in different sectors are actually facing a lot of issues. While I'm saying that, this also opens up a new opportunity for them when they're, when they have this much of different obstacles in front of them. So they're adaptable to changes and new innovations, which enroll them, for concepts like green economy. So now they're adapting, they're embracing these new concepts, and they would like to embrace circular production, resource efficiency, all these interesting topic, and becoming more efficient and enhancing their profitability at the end of the day. And the most amazing thing that we found that women are always very conscious of contributing to the planet Earth. So even if it's, if they can, they will be more cautious and contributing to the development of the eco-friendly products. Maybe they're more concerned in terms of creating more employment for women, and that also sometimes, in most of the times, it comes in green jobs. So we see that the women-led businesses, they're mostly engaged in organic products, handmade products. They're into products which is using natural dye or natural raw materials, and end of the day, it all are contributing to a world which will be even more greener. So I would say, women are contributing largely in all those things. They're contributing in for the environment. They're contributing to be more resource efficient, and when a woman starts practicing it in their professional field, the chance is very high that they will also replicate the same into her other areas, maybe in the family and others, which is practically evident that they utilize such knowledges with the families more than the men that they do. So I personally see that this is a great opportunity for the women-led businesses, and they're embracing it pretty well. And their contribution is actually leading to the from the macroeconomic inclusive growth, and that leads to the green economy that we all are aiming for.
And can you tell me a little more in depth about how does it address the challenges faced? How does the ITC She Trade initiative specifically address the challenges faced by women entrepreneurs? And just some concrete examples of impact and also how you're addressing those challenges.
All right. So from International Trade Center, we have different initiatives that we work to support in different development indicators. She Trades is our one of the flagship initiatives that works for supporting women-led businesses, or women in general, women in trade. We launched this one back in 2015, and since then we are trying to support women to grow in business and connect to the market, and thus do well and grow in international trade. The activity for women entrepreneurs or for women-led businesses, our work is specifically to enhance their capacity first, so that they can face the international trade well. We make them ready first, and once they're ready, we connect them to the market. We have resource limitations, so we cannot connect everyone, but we try within the limited resources as much as we can. And when we connect them, we also try to make sure that they get some good leads, and those leads are also converted into sales. So we have a process that we always work on that. So we work in three broad verticals. The first one is supporting women in business, women in trade. As I said, in these two forms, their skill enhancement program, and also connecting them to the market. In addition to that, we also connect them to relevant business information, market information, and with key stakeholders. And that brings the second one. The second one is having the right ecosystem. And how can we have the right ecosystem? There are two important elements that we work with. One is we work with the business support organizations and trade promotion agencies in different countries. They are the key players to support for sustainable growth of women-led businesses. Because if they are not efficient and proactively driving the sector, it's difficult for women-led businesses to proactively, getting to the right market, being more efficient, and being competitive than the other countries. So we have different institutional strengthening program and also gender mainstreaming program in terms of supporting those BSOs who are gender neutral, so that they mainstream services for women-led businesses. And at the same time, we also encourage and build a community of partners. And that is the partners like the organizations that are representing here, Volvo and others. So thank you very much. It was really inspiring to hear lots of your good stories, good cases. So we have also similar different private sector organizations and also public sector organizations when they have a gender mandate, gender commitment. we invite them and we work together. So it's not mutually exclusive, rather it's an open platform that invites all who wants to support women, and we work together and create the right ecosystem. And the third component is inclusive policy, because we all know that, I mean, we can work on many other things, but if you don't have the right policy, then if the policy is not rightly inclusive, then it will not be sustainable. So, I mean, just to give you an example, we have we have seen that in public procurement, so any government procurements that we have in different countries, the participation of women is very, very less. So just to give you an example, what happened in Bangladesh before, we had a public procurement policy, which had lots of obstacles to, mainstream women to participate. I mean, the kind of experience, the kind of eligibility which was required, that generally is a roadblock for women to participate. So we worked on that with the policy regulators. We try to share the experiences from other countries. We also try to share and communicate the insights and the challenges that the women are facing on ground. And then, the regulators also understood and they listened to us. And together, back in 2023, we have, the government has enacted a new policy, which is sustainable public procurement policy. And this one is more inclusive. It opens up the way with different other forms that we all have that advocacy. So this is one of the examples of inclusive policy. I'll stop with one more example for the market access, just to help you help the audience understand how, I mean, like the concrete example, how we do that. In last February, we sent a delegation of 48 businesses from 10 different countries under IITC She Trades Hubs initiative to Manchester, United Kingdom. We call that Manchester Trade Mission. So we have two different forms to connect women-led businesses to the market. One is the conventional trade fairs, and the other one is trade mission. Sometimes it's inbound, sometimes it's outbound. So last one, the example that I'm giving, the Manchester one was outbound. And the businesses that we brought in those countries 2 months before we started taking preparation, because they needed market information. To enter into UK market, they need to be compliant. They need to have the standardization right. They also need to have proper certifications if it's needed, if it's on the, for example, in the agri-food sector or in the cosmetic sector. So, they need some of the things that has to be compliant. So we work on that for a couple of months, and after that grooming, we connect them to the buyers. And also on the buyer side, we work with the different chambers, associations, and also the buyers network. We also talk about inclusive sourcing. We try to encourage them and promote them, because it's two different sides, but both needs to come forward. Otherwise, it's not going to happen sustainably. We may have one or two cases, but what we are envisioning is to have a sustainable support system. And that creates, lots of leads were created, and now it's being in the process of being converted with sales. We already have seen some of the sale deals have been signed between them, and it's growing. So the buyers are happy because they are getting a filtered pool of suppliers who are ready almost to do business with them. And it's definitely cost efficient rather than going out and hunt for the ones. And similarly, for the women-led businesses, they got the network and they get connected with the buyers, and they can communicate the great products that they produce on their own field, and then they can bring it down. So, I mean, there are lots of other examples, but considering the time, yeah, I'll stop there. Yeah.
Thank you. I think what's important to note, colleagues, is there are 21 She Trades hubs across Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Correct me if I'm wrong, you can reach out to Tanvir at IITC if you're interested in this idea of trade missions, which I think is really very exciting. And also as an employer organization, if you want to connect with the ITC, I think that IOE would really be happy to sort of facilitate that connection. Tanvir, if you have any closing thoughts, one message you want to share with the colleagues before we move on.
The message is pretty simple. What everybody has said, let's continue this conversation, and let's support. I mean, a simple step forward will help the women-led businesses a lot. So let's continue doing that. And as you said, like, if anyone would like to connect, feel free to send an email. And if any business organization, private sector, or any public sector is interested to join and support the women-led businesses, it's always welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to hand over to Anne Vaucher, our colleague from the French Employers Organization. And Anne is also the chair of the IOE's Policy Working Group on Gender Diversity and Equality. Anne, I'm going to hand it to you. Just give us a bit of a wrap up and some sort of closing thoughts. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Jean. And I want to start by thanking all speakers and also all participants. But I want to take a few minutes, as you said, Jean, to highlight some takeaways from this event that I found really insightful, frankly inspiring, and filled with concrete practices offering possibilities to address and support women's economic empowerment in the green economy. I think we heard this afternoon a lot of very inspiring examples. It was said just before that we need to take action and to come with tangible results. And I think that this example that were discussed this afternoon were really very, very inspiring examples. So first, I want to emphasize the importance of advocating for and addressing the gender gap in skills and leadership opportunities for women in the green economy. Here lies the potential for sustainable growth and advancing the gender equality agenda. Skills, as it was said this afternoon, and leadership matters. Now more than ever, skillful leaders and collaboration are essential to navigate this transition beyond climate change, and we each have a role to play. Supporting women in developing the competencies needed for future jobs in a smart investment for workers and employers alike, as it was demonstrated by Karin Svensson with the example of the Volvo Group. I want to stress that unless we increase the talent pool through this education, training, and exploring the untapped group of individuals seeking employment opportunities, our economies, but also our societies will not thrive. Second point, we must strengthen and scale up these initiatives that deliver concrete results for women and led businesses and professional women, whether in trade, in finance, employment, networking, mentoring, and beyond. This initiative contributes to the economic empowerment and, frankly, to the greater well-being of those whose efforts often go unheard and yet upon from whom communities depend for sustainability and growth. Third point, as the intervention highlighted, engagement at the local level and partnerships are essential for achieving successful and also sustainable outcomes, as it was shown by Ms. Tina Mylan from Schneider Electric. In business, we understand the value of connection, where collaboration enhances innovation, efficiency, and problem solving by leveraging diverse skills and perspectives, strengthening our activities. And fourth, access to opportunities, such as financial and technical support and networking for SMEs. This is crucial for achieving sustainable enterprise led by women. It is essential to connect women entrepreneurs to market access opportunity and equip them with practical training, especially in e-commerce, as seen in the initiative like SheTrace presented by Mr. Tanvir Abad. With global e-commerce, sales expected to hit in 2024, and women-led businesses have a powerful opportunity to grow and to compete. So thank you very much. Unless there are other speaking demands or other
Here.
participants who want to raise questions, I do not see.
Now we're here. We're having an issue with the cameras, but
Okay.
here, I'm here. And I just want to say, excuse me, because I didn't give your exact title, and I think it's important to be precise. So Anne is actually the International and European Social Affairs Director for the Mouvement des Entreprises de France, MEDEF, as we say here. And she is the chair of the IOE Policy Working Group on Gender, Equality, and Diversity. So thanks, Anne. Thank you for those closing reflections. You can't see me, but I want to thank all of our participants as well. It's been an absolute honor to engage with you, to discuss with you, and to learn from you. So thank you all. If there's no final questions, very big thank you also to the team behind the scenes, whether Annalise, Emily, our team at IOE. We really have a very big thank you for all of you, and Diego. So thank you all. And well, this was the first of many, I hope, and we will see you very soon. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.